shout out and a thank you to my sponsor, P2 Collectibles, located at 204 East McGalliard Road in Muncie and on eBay as well. So next time you're here in Muncie, let us know. Come give us a visit.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Alex from Plus 3 TCG, and we are here with Marcus, and he has a really cool deck to show us. What do you got for us?
Well, I went to the Muncie locals today, and I played Nekroz, Herald Nekroz. It's actually really good, and it's got a really good grind game against Spirals and other decks. Although I did not expect to play Trickstar today, and apparently I need to find sides for Trickstar because that deck is OP and stupid. But
Licorice is no joke.
Yeah, that Licorice OTK stuff on top of the Droll loop is really stupid. But I did pretty good with this, and it's super powerful against rogue decks, and it's got a really good grind game against the meta. So without further ado, I'll get into the profile. You got 3 Valk. Got to play this card at 3. It's the Battle Phase Stopper, and it's also the consistency card. And I'll explain how good Valk is with one of the other cards later. We play 1 Trish, 1 Brio, and 1 Unicorn. I've debated playing Trish at 2, and I thought about cutting Colossus for 1, but he worked pretty well at 1, and you can do a lot of silly combos with him. And then we play 3 Colossus. He's the Spell Searcher, and he's just consistency, so you have to play him. He has really good synergy with a couple of the cards coming up. 2 Herald of Perfection. This is where the deck gets its insanity from. This is really good and really strong because it not only helps you grind, it protects your Trish, and there is a sweet combo play with the Dawn of the Herald ritual summoning this card with it. If you tribute Benten, it searches out a Light Fairy, and that's tributing for any effect, whether it's for a ritual summon or if it's off Valk's effect. So with Valk, if you tribute this card, you get to draw 2 cards and search a Light Fairy, and if you tribute 2 from hand, Valk's a +4. And if you tribute the Herald of Perfection with this card, basically Dawn of Herald, when you go to search with Benten, will then chain and banish itself, protecting the search of Benten so they can't ash it, to add the Benten back to your hand. So basically when you Dawn of Herald tribute this card, you get this back to hand, and you get to search out another Light Fairy, which is usually one of these guys. And these guys are just hyper consistency for the deck. And basically what you're saying is that when you Dawn of Herald and you summon your Herald of Perfection with Benten, you get an automatic search for one of these and a Benten, and if you've already summoned one for the turn, your Herald of Perfection has 2 negates, which is really strong. And since Herald's not once per chain, that's also what makes it super busted. You can just keep like having lots of cards, keep going on the chain and just keep negating. And then we play 3 Ash, as if we didn't have enough negation. Herald of Perfection plus this is just insane. And then 1 Maxi just to get our opponent to stop. That'll round it up for all the monsters. And then for the spells, we play 2 Nekroz Mirror. This card's really nutty because it, like to ritual summon Trish, you can tribute a Benten and banish a Colossus out of the graveyard. So with your Colossus searching this card, if you have a Benten in hand and there's a way to search Trish, you have a free search on a Light Fairy plus a banish with Trish. And so the way the Chainlink works is if you, since Trish will go Chainlink 1 and Benten's Chainlink 2, they can't Ghost Ogre your Trish, which is also really cool, and you get a free search. And then we get Kaleidoscope. This card is just the absolute nuts and insane with Unicorn. It's a free search, and it's also a very easy way to summon out Valk as well as Trishula. And then 2 Cycle. This card is really good. You actually have to play this at 2. I was playing it at 1, and that was just a mistake. This card at 2 is really good because you contribute Benten to summon back Brio from the graveyard. And then Brio actually becomes a threat against extra deck monsters, and so banishing it is just no longer very good. And the tribute of a Benten in your hand to summon it out is just super strong. And Benten is not once per turn either. So, so basically, if you can keep comboing off, like if you can use Cycle to bring back Brio and then use Dawn of the Herald to summon out like your Herald of Perfection, it gets crazy. And then Dawn of the Herald, just the nuttiest ritual spell in the deck by far. And then there's this card. This card is just stupid. The only targets it searches is the Dawn of the Herald and the Herald of Perfection. But the fact that this card's an inherent +1, and if I draw Ben 10 in this, like there's like a +4 combo that gets you like Unicorn and anything else that you need. It's just so stupid. And like it's really strong. And then you have Preparation of Rites, like the ultimate top deck in Nekroz. It's insane. And then the last spell, just for consistency, is to search out our Colossus. We have Rhoda. And then the last two cards, evenly matched. I wish I could play this at 3, and I probably, if I could get a third one, I would cut probably Colossus. But this is what makes the deck actually viable to go second against your opponent, because if they invest a lot of cards to go first and you evenly match them and then trish them on top of it, the odds of them winning the game after that is just slim to zero. And so evenly match is a staple. You must play it in this variant. And I wish I kind of had it at 3, but I only have 2. On to the extra deck. You play the Utopia package. This is pretty crazy. Won me a game today, and because you have all the space for the level 4 plays, you just play it. And then Karen Gorgon, because you can. Number 103, because you can. This card's pretty good. Helps you out back row and is really strong against magicians. The number 1 card you probably go into, Baguska. If your opponent, if your opponent cannot out this card, you will eventually build enough advantage that just destroys your opponent. And the fact that like I stun you for 1 turn and then put this thing into attack mode and they just start summoning out like an insane amount of ritual monsters gets pretty crazy. Castel Dweller, this card is very good because you can make it 22 with Unicorn. So if you're up against Spiral or anything else like True Draco, this is a really cool card. Cowboy for game, because we can.
Oh, man.
And then
It is again.
yeah, it is. And man, ever since I got my top with this card, it's gonna be in every profile. And then we got number 80, Rhapsody and Berserk, just in case there's like cards that I need to remove out of my opponent's graveyard. We play 1, I don't even know, Barbaroid, the ultimate battle machine. The reason you do this is because it's a kaleidoscope target, because it's a 12.
Oh, 12.
You can,
I got you.
You
Numbers.
summon out either Trish or Colossus with it, or a Unicorn and a Valk, which gets pretty crazy. Same thing with this, Cosmic Blazar Dragon. I think he looks cool, and nobody plays him in anything, so that's why I put him in there. Then you play the one Herald of Arclight. You don't need the second one. You will never summon Unicorn more than once in this deck. That's just sad. Well, you could probably summon it by tributing off like a Senju for cycle, but you can't like use Kaleidoscope, and there's no way to get it back. Rest in peace, Daigo Emerald. And then Star Eater. Yeah, Star Eater is for Valk and Colossus. Were you gonna say something?
Fuck yeah, no. More or less, just gonna ask you if you would change anything about the main deck right now that you have your results, seeing as how Trickster was kind of a trouble, or would you think it was more of just a side deck thing?
Yeah, third evenly matched would have been nice, and it's side deck stuff, which I'll show you guys the side deck. It's not very very strong. Definitely third evenly matched, and I might consider trying the second Trish in the deck. 3 Lancia. The idea behind this card was to shut out ABC, because basically on their turn I tribute this card and they're not going to be able to summon Buster Dragon, and Buster Dragon can be very threatening. And if I have like Baguska plus this in hand, their turn's just basically over unless they out the Baguska and can continue to do other crazy stuff. 2 of the MVP, and Alex can attest to this, and Joel and Lockbird.
That's pretty dumb.
it just beats Spiral.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. And then we have Dark Hole and Regeki. This is also for Spirals. You just want to wipe their board as much as possible, although I have to admit, I have to find something else for that stupid sleeper stuff. Pot of Acquisitiveness. This is going to be a very odd card to a lot of people, but when you think about what the spells do in this deck and against decks like ABC, this card actually makes a lot of sense. So if I like do something and they tag out Buster and like my Unicorn or Brio's banished because of Valk or something, I can target 2 of their pieces and one of my banished monsters and put it back in the deck. And that's like one of the only ways to like recycle your banished Nekroz cards. But you don't want to main deck it because it would be really hard to use against. But it actually works out very well against ABC. And then for Paleo, and Trickstar, I would have demolished the Trickstar player I played in the finals because I drew this card. But then he had the Candina OTK and top decked a interrupted Kaiju Slumber.
Reincarnation doesn't matter when Candina can just blow.
Yeah, it was so stupid. But that's the deck. What do you want me to show him a combo?
Yeah, if you could show him that combo that you were talking about, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna say I draw these. Let's just say I draw these because these are easy ways to get to it. There are a ton of cards. You could draw pre-prep and any of the Manjus or Senjus. You can draw pre-prep and any Benten. You could draw the Herald of Perfection and this. You could draw Herald of Perfection and like Kaleidoscope and a way to get to Unicore.
Jeez.
And like there's like 50 different ways for you to get something like this that I'm about to show you. So let's just say I play the two pre-preps and you're gonna search out Dawn of Heralds, Ben 10, and the Herald of Perfection. So you just get these three cards. If you open up these three cards in any way, your turn's amazing. So you'll play the Dawn of Herald, you'll tribute to summon your Herald of Perfection, and then you're gonna go Ben 10 Chainlink 1, Herald Chainlink 2, you'll banish this, you'll add this to hand, and then you'll get to search out a Manju of 10,000 hands. You then normal the Manju of 10,000 hands, and basically you'll add either Unicore, depending on what else is in your hand, or a or you could search out Brio, which is going to get you into more crazy combos. You can search out either of these. So if you have like a way to get a Kaleidoscope spell, you want to search this, and if you don't, you search this. So then you'll discard your Brio to the grave, and then search out your Colossus, and then you'll discard Colossus to search out your Cycle. And then you'll play Cycle, tributing the Ben 10 in hand to summon out Brio. And then Ben 10, since it's not once per turn again, is going to net you a search for this. So I just, right there alone, I just went +1, 2, 2 with an inherent +1 on my next turn. If this field goes, I'm going to get another search off Cycle. So there you have it. You have a +4 potential play, and that was only 2 cards in hand, or theoretically 3, depending on how you fix it. And this card can bounce something. This will have a guaranteed negate, so whatever else is in your hand is golden. And like against your opponent, if you get Herald on board with like 1 Droll and Lockbird against Spirals, you Droll and Lockbird them once, and I guarantee they get so far behind with this deck, it's crazy. So yeah, there you have it. That's one of the big combos. And that's kind of like the idea around the deck. And the deck like tunes itself because it's Nekroz and ritual cards. So
Such a fun deck, man. I love seeing combo stuff like this go off. And bring back the old Nekroz, man. Well, yeah, man. Appreciate you being back on the channel, Marcus. Hopefully we'll see you again. And this is Alex from Plus for TCG signing out, y'all.